tonight. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sensei Romanelli. I'm one of the instructors in the organization here, and I'll be running the meeting tonight. And I'm kind of the one involved with just coordinating the volunteers and our staff. And so before I go into the meeting, I just want to take a chance to thank all of you for participating and volunteering and helping out, because without all of this, we wouldn't be able to accomplish what we're about to accomplish this weekend. We've got nearly 40 volunteers that have already jumped on this meeting tonight. I know we have more in the pipeline, so that's really awesome. And honestly, we saw a greater turnout of volunteers than we ever have for this particular tournament. This is a real exciting thing because we have a lot of new systems and things that we're putting into place this particular tournament, and a brand new venue for this tournament at Oakland University. So again, thank you for jumping in and helping out. We've taken an opportunity to really organize the volunteers per the timelines and things that each of you gave us when you turned in your volunteer sheet. Okay. One of the things I'll mention, there's several different aspects of volunteering. Tonight's meeting, we're going to be covering a couple really key important things. The biggest one is going to be how to time keep and score keep for the tournament. So if you had planned to volunteer during the day of the event, that's what this meeting is really for. I know some of you had volunteered to help with the before and after of the tournament. And if we haven't reached out to you individually about that, then we're all set. We actually had a humongous amount of volunteers for that, which we really appreciate. But this meeting is really designed for those that are going to be active in timekeeping, scorekeeping, coordinating throughout the day, as well as maybe first aid or photography help that particular day. So if that's not you, or check-in, if that's not you and that's not what you're volunteering for or able to volunteer for, then you're welcome to stay on the meeting, but you're welcome to log off as well. We're going to go through all those details now. Okay. What we've done is we've put together a list of volunteers for different aspects of the tournament. And I'm sorry, I'm looking away, but I'm looking at my list on the other computer here. We have a few things new that we're going to be introducing. First off is going to be a photography station for all of the placeholders in the tournament. And so a few of you mentioned in your volunteer form that you'd be open to doing some photography for us. And so I was hoping that we could have Mr. Matt Prang. I was going to have you down for the photography station for the first half of the day for the first two time slots for the 9 a.m. through around 2:30-ish time slot. And then I also have as another person on that list, I believe it's Yvette Barrett, excuse me if I'm saying it wrong. I had you down for photography as well. So if you guys are able to volunteer during that first half of the day for that, that would be great. Those pictures are going to happen right on the stage as the winners are given out that day. And then for the second half of the day, I have Maureen, is it Angel or Angel? And I have Catherine DeMar down for photography for the second half of the day from kind of 2 o'clock on. And so we'd love to have you guys there helping us take pictures of the winners as they come up and receive that honor on the stage. If you guys could make notes to do that, that would be great. As far as first aid goes, some of you volunteered as potential medics. Hopefully we don't need you for this, but we have, I know it's Caleb's, I believe, grandfather, Matt. I'm sorry, Mr. I don't know the pronunciation of the last name, but Kowalczyk, if that's right.
Kowalczyk, you're right.
Okay, cool. I was close. All right. So I had you volunteered for that, so I have you down for that, as well as Steve Warnick for the first few time slots there from 9 till about the 2:30 time frame. As well as Jennifer Lane for kind of 11:30 to 5-ish time slot. And then I kind of had Matt Prang down as another option for that as well on that latter part of the day for first aid. Okay. I am recording this meeting, so if anything that I say needs to be repeated, I can repeat it, but it'll also be available per recording. I'll send it out to you guys in a text in the next couple, well, 24 hours or so. So, okay, so that kind of covers our first aid and our photography. Those of you, if you're on the meeting, if that's workable for you, we'd appreciate it. If it's not, feel free to speak up and we can reassign that. But we thought you'd be good options for that. Those of you that volunteered for photography first aid, any questions on that? Is that okay?
Could you
That works for me.
Oh, could you repeat the names the second, like later in the afternoon? Because it kind of broke up and I couldn't hear.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Absolutely. I'll bring my microphone a little closer. So later on in the afternoon for the first aid, we had Matt Prang and Jennifer Lane. Okay. And then for the photography, we had Maureen and
Okay.
Catherine. Maureen and
Okay.
Catherine.
Okay, yep, that was me, but I didn't
Oh.
even hear you say my name. So thank you.
Oh, I'm
for
sorry.
repeating that.
And who are you?
Maureen Angeli.
Oh, Angeli. Okay. I'll
Okay.
practice that. I didn't say that right the first time.
Oh, that's okay.
We'll blame it on the connection, though. That's much better. So, but if that's okay, we'd love to have you a part of that, if that's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. It's I think once we get going, it'll be pretty user-friendly, pretty simple. And then we have on check-in, we have Mrs. Brianne Brown and Mrs. Keena Romanelli and Mrs. Darlene Wasselina. They're going to be the spearheads of our check-in process out in the main room, and we'll have them on that for the most part. We won't need too many others on the check-in. The check-in process, ladies, will be pretty simple. There's going to be a big banner that says, do you have a wristband? Do you need a wristband? And it'll point you in the right direction. And then one of you will be responsible for letting those that have wristbands come on in. And then another person will be responsible for just taking payments for wristbands and letting people into the facility. We'll have a price sheet up there and all the different payment options for you. We'll go through that as we get into the venue, but that's pretty simple. What I wanted to take a chance to do this evening was go through the time and scorekeeping and coordinating component to this. Now, if you haven't yet, all the different instructors have access to this. This is a time and scorekeeping guideline sheet, okay? And it has the details that I'm about to go over with you guys. So if you haven't already received one of these from your instructor, definitely see them. They can provide that for you and get your very own copy. You also should receive a wristband. Everybody coming into the tournament this time is going to need a wristband. We don't want you guys to purchase those because you're volunteering to help us out. So make sure your instructor gives you a wristband as well as the volunteer packet, okay? When it comes to scoring, there's two main components to this. One of them are the kata, the individual performances on the floor. And then the second are the sparring or the interactive performances on the floor. And so I'm going to go through each of those with you, make sure we understand some basics on how to score. And then we'll actually make some assignments where I'll let you guys know where we're going to go and where we're going to be come Sunday. Okay. We're going to start. And by the way, any of you doing first aid or photography, I know a lot of you guys also volunteered to maybe help out with this. And we may substitute you in periodically if you're available or if the need is there. So feel free to hang on the meeting with us for this too. The team for the kata, the individual performances, consists of two people. One's responsible for calling up the competitors and recording the scores. The other is responsible for adding up those scores using a calculator that's provided. And then the other member records the total score. So one's going to call up the competitors and record the scores, and one's going to add up the scores. We always make sure that we use a calculator just so that there's no human error involved. All right. The first thing to do is to call up a competitor. You'll have a list, by the way, and you'll call up who's up and you'll call up who's on deck. This will keep everything moving pretty smoothly as you call up each competitor. Once a person performs, they're going to be scored by all 5 judges. One person should record the scores in the appropriate columns on the sheet as the junior black belt assistant reads them off. So a junior black belt is going to stand up and they're going to announce the scores, 6.2, 6.3, and then it's just simply recording those scores as they're announced. Okay. After the first person records the scores, the second person would determine that total score using the calculator. To calculate a total score, you actually cross off the highest and lowest scores and you add the middle 3 scores together. This is something that helps the competitor end up with a more average score. And it's done as each competitor comes up so that all those scores are added up as we go. Okay. So you have 5 scores, you're adding the middle 3 together. Making sense so far? Perfect. After each competitor performs, you're going to find the top 3 scores and assign them the first, second, and third places. On the division sheet, there's a column on the side that is designated for places. And so if someone earns a first, second, or third place, you just write a 1, a 2, or a 3 accordingly, okay? The important thing to remember is just to double check, because sometimes you might miss somebody who should have gotten that first, second, or third place. So just make sure that the appropriate people get the appropriate places. That's the biggest thing to be aware of when it comes to scoring this. And then that's pretty much it when it comes to basic scoring. Now, this will be the same for kata. It'll be the same for weapons performance, as well as team kata, where they come out as a team and do their performance. Now, the only thing that's additional would be if we have a tie. But before we do that, I'm going to answer the question. Ms. Kerr.
Nope, you got it. I was just going to ask what if they tied. So
Oh,
you're on it. Thanks.
Oh, you stole my thunder. That's okay. If they tie, you actually, there's a process to that. You compare the highest scores of the 3 kept scores, okay? So you have 3 scores. Whatever the highest score is for competitor A and competitor B, you compare them. Whoever got the highest high score would win, okay? If that doesn't work, then you compare the lowest of the 2 scores, okay? So, and whoever got the highest low score would win, okay? And remember, we're just talking about the scores we kept, not the ones that we discarded. Those are gone forever, okay? And by the way, if the high scores are the same and the low scores are the same, then the middle scores would also mathematically, naturally be the same. Someone taught me that many years ago. And so if that happens, then they have a shout out to Mike Ambrosio for teaching me that. If that happens, hi, Mike. If that happens, then the competitors have to come up again and perform again. They'll be rescored, and then you'll add a new line for them, rescore them, so that both the original scores and the new scores are kept on the form. Okay, and then whoever wins of that new performance will break the tie. Okay, and they would score just the way they are scored previously, with the highest and low dropped. Okay, if somebody has to perform again, just write their name in a new row on the sheet and let them get rescored. Okay, when you're done with the division form, you just keep it at the table that's there that you'll be sitting at, and then one of our coordinators will periodically come by and collect those and bring them up to the head table. Okay, that pretty much covers how we score the kata, the weapons, the team kata. Are there any questions about that at all?
No, it just looks like you changed your sheet now, instead of, before where you had the scores first, second, and third up in the right-hand corner. Now we're just writing them off to the right-hand side.
Actually, that's always been that way, Dennis. The sparring one is the one that has those places like that.
Yeah, in reverse. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So on the kata one, it's just going to be you're putting on the right-hand side, just writing it in on there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. One of the things that I'll mention while I'm thinking about it, we do have something brand new this year that we're doing in the tournament. We are actually awarding Olympic style medals to all the winners. And so these are actually custom Olympic style medals that have the crest. I don't know if you want, the graving's not the right word, but die cut. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Into the medal. And so this is an example of a second place. This is a silver medal. And then we have gold and bronze for the first and third. And then all the lanyards are customized for the tournament. And so it's a pretty substantial award for everybody. These are what we're going to be handing out as our first, second, and third places this time. And then there's also going to be smaller medals of participation for our under brown belt divisions like we've done in the past. So I just want to bring that up to everybody. Coordinators, you'll be involved with that. But these, the biggest thing is just make sure you know that gold is first place and bronze is third and silver's in the middle. Okay. But we're very, very excited about this. This is a new thing we were able to do. We've wanted to do it for years, and we were finally able to get the supply chain in order to make it happen. So pretty cool. And that'll be awarded for every division. Okay, I see a hand.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did somebody else have a hand? I'm
You
sorry.
can go. You can go first. It's fine.
All right, I got a quick question. You
Please.
mentioned that two people will be working together, one calling the competitors and recording scores, and the other one adding up.
Mhm.
And at some point you switch roles, or do you prefer the person to remain the same?
You know, I recommend getting into a little bit of a groove with it, but if you want to switch roles after, you know, what I would recommend is you always want to make sure for one division, for one set of students, that you're doing the same thing the whole time. That's
Right.
just going to make things go smoothly. But as you get a new group that comes over, you're welcome to swap out, switch roles, and we'll be rotating even just the staff, the people that are doing things periodically too. Our goal is to try to get as much experience on the floor as we can, but also, of course, make sure we're covered up the whole time too. So, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question. And sir?
So related to the tiebreakers, is that for every single competitor, or is that just for like the top three? If you're just
Okay.
like if you have like a fifth and a sixth that are tied, you care about redoing all that stuff? or not?
We only break the ties of first, second, and third place.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
And so we only have to worry about that. And when it comes to the scores on the sheets, I mean, obviously you want to make sure the scores are all recorded accurately, but when it comes to awarding places, you only have to award first, second, and third place on the sheet as a time and scorekeeper. Okay. And then be concerned if any of those places tie. And then I saw another hand, purple shirt. Yes, ma'am. You're muted. That's okay. No, let me see if I can unmute you. No, I guess. Oh, there. Are you there?
Are you there? Can you
I
hear
am
me?
here. I am
Okay.
here, yes.
I was just gonna say, those medals are really awesome.
Oh,
Are they very heavy?
the little dragons should be okay, but
That's exactly where I was going with it.
they are a 4-inch circle. They are very, I mean, they're substantial. They're not gonna, they'll be okay.
They won't tip over or anything, right?
No, they won't tip over. We didn't go with the 5-inch metal for that reason, actually. So
Okay. Cool.
they are,
Alright.
but I'll be honest, they are pretty cool. Yeah,
They
are.
look so awesome.
I kind of want to compete just so I can get one. So they are very cool. Thank you for that though. Anything else on as far as scoring the kata? We'll go into the sparring part next. If you
I
guys-
just have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
The last MFIT tournament that you guys had in the fall,
Mhm.
I volunteered for that one. Now is it gonna kind of be the same where occasionally somebody will come around to the tables and say, do you need to be relieved, or if you need to take a break, or what's the
Process.
yeah.
So because we put together a little more of a detailed volunteer sheet this time, I did go through and organize everybody a little bit more ahead of time. So before we finish our meeting tonight, what I'm going to do, we've actually pre-assigned rings for everybody and even pre-assigned timeframes based on what you provided me. Okay. But what I did do was I made sure that we were over covered for all circumstances, just so that
Okay.
if somebody's sick or can't make it or whatever, that we're not left with a deficit, right? So during the course of the day, we would need a total of 12 people at our 6 rings to run the two person
Yeah.
teams, right? I made sure that we had over that for each of the time slots involved. So before we finish the meeting
Okay.
today, I'm going to go down my list and just announce the names, and you'll be able to write down what ring you're at and kind of have an idea.
Okay.
Then you'll be able to periodically check in with those that are there at that particular ring and
Okay.
just see if they need to be relieved, or you can let me know. And my head coordinator, Mr. Chris Brown, he's going to be on the floor, walking the floor that day. If someone needs to be relieved, let him know. And then that way we always have a good cluster of people we can switch out. And my goal was really try to make sure everybody got a chance to jump in for at least part of it. So, okay.
Well, yeah, the only reason I was asking is because when I actually volunteered, I think, and I'm part of Sensei Burtney's
Yeah,
dojo.
sure.
And when I first volunteered, because I had done it before, and I never filled out a sheet or requested anything. I told them, you put me wherever you need me. I don't care. I'll do whatever you want, except for sweep the parking lot. That was the only thing. And yeah, because Oakland has a lot of geese around there, if you know where I'm going with that.
Yes, ma'am.
But anyway, afterwards, my granddaughter decided she wanted to compete because originally she wasn't. She was afraid and she wasn't going to
Oh, okay.
compete.
Okay.
The only thing is I don't know what he signed me up for
Oh,
or when, but I would like. She's just doing kata. She's
you want to
only
make sure you can
6.
watch her compete, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's no problem. That's no problem. That's
Okay.
one of the great things about having so many volunteers is that we can
Yeah.
swap everybody out pretty good. And in some cases, you actually have the best seat because you're actually sitting right at her table, maybe, potentially. I
Yeah.
don't know that for sure yet, but
Yeah.
no, we could definitely switch you out when that happens. The nice thing is students get a, decent heads up as far as when they're going to be up. And so when you hear her called, then it's just simple as, switching out with somebody else and
Okay, cool.
we call replacement. So, but no, great question. And that goes for everybody. We're happy to help with that. So, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Sensei.
absolutely. I am going to go down the list for the sparring a little bit now with you guys. There, again, 2 people in this team. One's going to be in charge of keeping track of the score, and the other one's going to be in charge of keeping track of the time. Okay. One person would call up the first 2 people to spar in the first match on the sheet, on the division form, and then announce them as red and white. So on a division form, which is in this packet that you should get if you haven't already got, there's some samples in there. The bracket works from left to right, and every competitor is labeled red and white. So you would call up, for example, on my form here, I've got Clark Kent as red, Bruce Wayne is white. Okay. And also call up the next couple that are on deck. So that would be John Jones, red on deck, and Peter Parker, white on deck to compete next. Okay. And then this just helps things move smoothly and run a little quicker. As each match begins, you're going to have the stopwatch, and we want to pay attention to the 2-minute mark on that. Okay. It's a continuous 2 minutes, meaning that the time is only stopped if the center judge asks it to be. So if they turn to you and say stop time, that means you're going to stop the time and then restart the time when they restart the match. Okay. But other than that, you let that time run continuously for 2 minutes, regardless of whether they stop the match. It's only if they ask you to stop the time. All right. If the time runs out, there's a beanbag at each station. You're going to carefully toss that in the center of the ring. That lets everybody know the time is up. Okay. And you can yell time, by the way, too. All right. As the match begins, everybody will get a chance. Well, hopefully everybody will get a chance to score. As the students score, there's going to be places on the division form to mark the points. There's little boxes under each competitor to mark points. And typically they're awarded half points. Okay. And so what you want to do is just keep an eye on the center judge as they award points. You just make a little X or a little cross through the box to keep track. Most of our matches are going to be 2 half points equal 1 full point, 1 winner. In our black belt matches, it'll be 4 half points equals 2 full points. The match is a little bit longer for the black belts, but just keeping track of those points just helps us double check our judges. They're usually doing it on their own, but they may look to you just to double check themselves on occasion. Okay. You also want to be ready to subtract a point if somebody gets a penalty, if they ask you to minus a half point. Okay. Everything's done in pencil, so it can easily be erased if that's needed. Okay. That's just a quick idea of how to keep track of the points. I do see a hand. Dennis, can I help you?
Just, I've done, I've been to the volunteer for any of these. Just to avoid confusion, a couple of times you've mentioned that we'll call up the next competitors. Usually, isn't it the coordinator of that table will call up the competitors where mostly we're doing the tracking, or has that changed?
Yes, for the most part. The only reason I mention that to you guys is just because sometimes if we do get short-staffed, the coordinator may have to jump in and sit on a table. And if that's the case, you may have to jump in and call those competitors up. So
Okay.
yes, if they're doing that, that's a great question. If you're doing that, I'm sorry, if they're doing that, you don't have to. Each ring will have a standing coordinator that's there to make sure the ring is running.
Yeah,
That's all depending upon the number of volunteers that we have, which I'm happy to say we have a good.
Yeah, I just didn't want to, like, people who may not have volunteered before may be confused because they're not calling up people. The coordinator will initially be calling them up, but you're right, you know, we filled in many times sometimes.
Yeah, so we just want to know how it works, right?
Right. Yep.
Yes, I see a hand. Yes, ma'am.
So just for clarification on the sparring,
Yes.
obviously, each ring has more than one black belt pulling up flags when they see a point. You don't mark anything down until the head judge or black belt or whatever says point, awards
Exactly.
a point. Okay.
Exactly. The center judge has autonomy, and so they're the one in charge of pooling the judges and creating those points, right? And so, well, I shouldn't say create, but evaluate would be a better word. But anyway, they'll be the one that'll say, you know, 1 point. And so when you see them do it, that's when you record it. Okay. They're gonna mathematically track the flags and all that for you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a wonderful question. So it's really focusing on the center judge and making sure that that you listen to what they're doing, basically. Okay.
Okay.
No, great question. Great question. Now, as a person wins a match, they move to the next column in the bracket. The brackets go from left to right. Okay. Let's see. So those of you that can see, this is a bracket. Okay. It starts on this side and then goes that way. Quite an interesting thing to mirror on a video, but I think I got it. All right. So, but you see that it pulls down to a winner right there. And that's what we're trying to do, is get to that first, second, third place position. Okay. So as somebody wins, they move forward into the bracket. And keep in mind that in most cases, once someone loses a match, they're not going to spar again, but they may if they're up for a third or fourth place position. Okay, that's as we get down toward the latter part of the bracket, if it's a sizable division. Most of our divisions are 8 or less. There are some exceptions to that have over that. Okay, and if a division has 3 people in it, we do use a modified round robin style to run the bracket. Okay, typically you're going to see on the bracket somebody is sparring somebody, and then occasionally you'll see somebody sparring somebody, but there's not a person's name there. It says bye. Bye just means that they have a randomly selected match to move them up in the bracket, just because mathematically you need to have a certain number of people to make the bracket system work properly. And so if we don't have that number, random people are selected to move into the next column on the bracket. When we have 3 people, we don't use that exact system. We have the first 2 people spar. We'll call them A and B. And sorry, I'm just reading my notes so I say this correctly. The first 2 competitors will spar. A and B will spar, and then the winner would spar that third person, C. Now, if that third person wins, then the division is over. So if A beat B and then C beat A, we have a very clear distinction of where the first, second, and third places lie based on that. But if A and B spar and A also beats C, A is now beat both B and C. What we have to determine is between B and C, who would win. And so we have an additional match to do that. So when we have 3 people, that's how we work that. There's only a handful of times that happens in the tournament, and really the coordinators are the ones that are responsible for evaluating that. But be aware that that exists. Worst case scenario, when a three-person division happens, just get some help, and we'll tell you exactly what to do. It's pretty, but it's actually pretty simple. Okay. Once all the matches are over and you have all the places on the sheet, there is a spot in the upper right-hand corner to record third, second, and first. Now, just keep in mind that it goes third, then second, then first, not first, second, third. It goes third, then second, then first, because that's the way they're announced. We always end with the highest place. Okay. So when you record the names, you want to make sure you put them in properly on the form. All right. That is sparring in a nutshell. Same thing. You can keep the forms at the table, and then somebody will come by to collect them. When I do assign volunteers, what I always try to do at the beginning of the day, especially, is make sure somebody that's done it before is with somebody who hasn't. And then we kind of keep that trend going in the rotation throughout the day. There's always somebody there that's done it. And that just makes learning this really easy and really simple. And that's worked for years. And we've even doubled our efforts in that front this year. So any questions about the spine before I go through some of the specific assignments?
Nope.
Okay. Well, thank you. I will go through those assignments, and then of course I'll leave some time at the end if we have any questions. Okay. I'm gonna mute everybody just so that you can hear me really good for those assignments. If you have a pen or pencil, it might be good to write some of these things down just so that you have it for your records. Okay. We have 6 rings. Okay. Which means there's going to be 6 coordinators that are going to be in charge of each of those individual rings. Okay. I'm happy to say that we have enough experience on the floor that we can actually swap out some coordinators throughout the day potentially and give some people some experience in this that haven't done it before. I did nominate a few people to do this that I know have time and score kept for us for a long time. So if I nominated you and you're not happy with that nomination, I apologize in advance. But it's actually a really great job. I think it's a great way to learn the tournament. We do have some of our legacy coordinators to start the day. Mrs. Kathy Cameron, we have you in ring 2 for the first half of the day. Michelle Ambrosio, I have you in ring 1. Martha Warner in ring 3. Jody McNamara in ring 5. Dina Patterson in ring 6. And Larry Koenig, I want to thank you for your efforts last tournament. We're looking forward to having you coordinate. I figured you'd be a great person for ring 4 if you would do us the pleasure. So that's what I have for the beginning part of the day. And then as the day progresses, we could rotate some of you guys out at the very least, kind of at the halfway point as we start to get into the end of the kids and into the black belt divisions. Okay, those are going to be the longer parts of the day. As a secondary coordinator for those rings, I had Sue Tominello down for ring 4, which would mean you'd be working with Larry Koenig there. Mike Ambrosio, I had you down for ring 1, which means you have to coordinate with your wife on who's going to work when. Good luck with that. And then Michelle Aiello, I had you down for ring 2. I know you've helped us out a lot with the time and score. I thought you might be good to coordinate if you feel comfortable with that. If not, that's okay too. And then I have Lou Crescentini. I was hoping you could coordinate for us on ring 6. And then my wife Kina should be available later in the day after check-in's over for ring 3. And I had a note potentially of Malik Albatar for ring 5, if he's not judging at that time. So I had you guys down as coordinators. If that doesn't work for you, let me know. We can rearrange that a little bit. Okay. Any questions about that? Now, those are the people that are going to be in charge of the rings, essentially. Any questions on that?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And we've got a bunch of you down for time and score. And so I'm going to go through that. This is in no particular order, but I did arrange it by the time of the day. So some of you volunteered for the 9 a.m. to noon time slot. And so I have the following people down as potentials for that time slot. I have Darius Giles for ring 1, Angela Kerr for ring 4, Patty Kowalczyk for ring 3, Brittany McGinnis, ring 1, Deborah Lampkin, ring 3, Daniel Pope, ring 2, Jackie Agar, ring 4, Rex Agar, ring 2, Allie Shope, ring 5, Antonisha Davis, ring 6, Michelle Ybarra, ring 5, Teresa Ponzio, ring 1, Dion, I'm not going to do the last name, but Dion G, ring 2, Wakita Thalen, ring 3, Alina Watford, ring 5, KJ Thalen, ring 4. Sue Zarilli, ring 6. And Lisa Ross, ring 6. And that's for that kind of that 9 to noon time slot, okay? Then we get into the 11:30 to 2:30 time frame, and some of you volunteered for more than one time frame, so some of this will be repeated. I've got again Jackie Agar down, same ring, ring 4. Rex Agar, ring 2. Michelle Celestini, ring 1. Susie Alous, ring 4. Ann Hillett, ring 5. Brooklyn Gibbons, ring 6. Chelsea Bretfeld, ring 5. Jason Martin, ring 3. Candace Kohut, ring 5. And Tanisha Davis, ring 6. Jennifer Pisha Rude, ring 1. Teresa Ponzio, ring 1. Dion G, ring 2. Will Donovan, ring 3. Christopher Fox, ring 2. Kelly Elliott, ring 3. Sue Zarilli, ring 6. Austin Watford, ring 4. And then we get into the 2 to 5-ish time slot. I've got Trish Rowe, ring 1. Dennis White, ring 2. Mark Alashevsky, ring 2. Ramonte Forte, ring 4. Melissa Whipple, ring 6. Colin Gachev, ring 5. Sasha Gumbelson, ring 6. Renee White, ring 5. Allie Shope, ring 3. Jamie P, ring 1. Jennifer P. Sherwood, ring 1. Will Donovan, ring 1. Alina Watford, ring 3. Sorry, 3. Mary Jo, ring 4. Austin Watford, ring 4. And then at that final part of the day, some of you are down for that as well. Trish Rowe, ring 1. Dennis White, ring 2. Melissa Whipple, ring 6. Colin Gachev, ring 5. Sasha Gumpelson, ring 6. Renee White, ring 5. Kevin Klingenberg, ring 3. And Mary Jo R, ring 4. That's what I have on my list. Now, I did pre-assign those rings, but keep in mind that, we're going to take some license throughout the day if we need to fill in some empty spots. That'll just help people kind of know where to go and what to do, at least when we get started that day. Okay. And those of you that first question, those of you that I called off, you heard your name. That's what I got on your form, but is that accurate and is that good? And are there any conflicts there for anybody? Michelle? You're muted, Michelle. I can't hear you.
Sorry, bear with me. I'm at my daughter's gymnastics class. Just checking as far as like coordinators, if you're having us do partway through the day, if we're not starting it, is there anything you want us to do, or we're just hanging out? And then is there going to be an announcement for a coordinator change, or like, how are we doing that?
In that regard, you're really working with one other person, right? And you know what ring you're at. So what I really would suggest is, Michelle, in your case, I mean, I don't believe you've done that for us before, so you'd be kind of new at it. I would suggest at least, let the day get started, but you could definitely jump over there and, get the rules of the road a little bit for it. I think you'll be fine. But you coordinate with that person. And honestly, because it's only a couple of you that are doing it, if you guys want to take turns back and forth a few times throughout the day, I'm not really concerned with it. I mean, I marked it down kind of half and half just to make it, I thought, easy. But if you guys talk about it and you want to go a little different route, as long as we have somebody there, I'm pretty flexible with it. Okay. I would just recommend communicating with your counterpart. That's really the easiest way because, there's only 2 of you. So, okay. And now, those of you that are coordinating, if you're not coordinating a certain part of the day and you're free to jump and do some time and score, and we have that available, that's fine too. None of this has to be locked in stone, but we try to be really organized so that there wasn't anybody not knowing, where to go, what to do, especially as we get things started on Sunday. We want to make sure for that beginning part of the day when we get started that we're ready to go. Okay. All right. I see a hand from Annie.
Hi. I Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I think you said my name between 11:30 and 2:30 in ring 5, but the last name sounded not right, so I just wanted to make sure.
I had Hillett.
It's Hilbert.
Oh, geez,
Yeah,
sorry.
That's okay. I figured that's what it was, and I just wanted to make sure that I was going to the right spot.
It looks like I adequately destroyed your name. I instead of Annie, I have Ann, and I have Hillett instead of Hilbert. So I will fix
That's
that
okay.
right now.
My legal name is Ann, so I'm sure that's the way Sensei gave it to you.
Ah, well, make sure you have a stern talking to him with how to spell your last name. It's. I was typing quickly. It's probably my mistake, but thank you. Yes, and I had you down in ring 5, that 11 to 2 o'clock time or 2:30 time slot. If that's okay.
Okay. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And keep in mind, volunteers, that I did get we booked a few extra for each of those time slots just in case we were missing some people. So you feel free to, again, to rotate in and out a little bit if there's someone that wants to jump in and do it, because we may have some overbooking on some of that. Okay, Dennis.
Yeah, thanks. I have a conference call with Malaysia here in about 3 minutes.
Okay.
So, as usual, I'll be around all day. So, I'll be, whatever you need, just give me a shout and I'll be happy to fill in. But right now I have to leave you now for the evening. I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay. Malaysia calls. That's okay.
That's
And
good.
and thank you, Dennis, for being here tonight. What I would say to all of you, I know you guys all volunteer for certain time slots. I try to be organized with this because what I find is as we get into the black belt divisions at the end of the day, it is a little hard to get volunteers out there to time and score keep. So, if any of you are going to be there later and you know that day, feel free to share that with me. I think we'll be okay, but it is just nice to have some people on reserve to be a part of that as well. Okay. Dion.
Yeah. Hey, Sensei, it's Dion Grekrix here. When I volunteered, I wasn't aware of the time slots. Now I've got a young one that isn't competing. My son will be in that 11 o'clock or thereabouts time slot. So I think it's going to be hard to have me there from 9 a.m. through till 2:30 with my young one. So I'm thinking absolutely the 11:30 till 2:30, and then depending on where things end up with my son's section, we may be able to help afterwards. So if you've got someone else who can take the earlier slot, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think we'll be just fine. I'm looking at ring 2 right now. We've got a few other potentials that should fit in there just fine. And I did make a little note on here on my chart. And
right.
Now, real important question. How do you say your last name?
Grekrix, just as it's spelled.
Yeah, I should just try a little harder. Absolutely.
No worries.
It intimidated me, but thank you, sir. And I appreciate your help, and we'll make that change. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Absolutely. Aside from that, one of the, I know a lot of you have volunteered before. One of the things I wanted to share with you, clearly we usually do these meetings the morning of, and we decided something different this time so that we could get an earlier start to the actual competition day. And we could hopefully have more people that were able to make the meeting because it was virtual as opposed to having to be there. And in that way, we didn't have to have everybody there at the beginning of the day to help out 6 hours later. That was kind of the goal with this, to make it more convenient. So I hope it was helpful. The other part of that is everything that we're doing is segmented into 4 segments. We have our adults starting the day, then our little dragons, then our youth, and then our black belts. So think of it almost as 4 separate little tournaments that are going to run throughout the course of the day. Because of that, we're not doing a traditional opening ceremony because we're not asking for everybody to be there at the beginning of the day. So when we start at 9 o'clock, we are going to start at 9 o'clock, meaning that doors open at 8:30. 9 o'clock is really just going to be an announcement of, okay, everybody, judges report to your rings, volunteers report to your rings, face here, bow, and begin. And we're going to go. Later tonight, I'll be recording the traditional, if you want to call it, opening speech that we'll be sending out in a video format to everybody before the tournament. So everybody will know where to park, where to go, what to do days before the tournament this time. And that'll save us a little time to get started, but it will also I think it will help everybody know what to do without being there at 9 o'clock in the morning for everybody. Okay. Those of you that are, thank you. We appreciate your help. So, okay. Any questions about anything at all before we finish up tonight? I see some hands in the air. Michelle, I don't know if it's a new or an old hand, but I'll start with you. Okay, I'm gonna go to,
So,
oh,
Ibera, me?
sure, go ahead. That's fine.
I didn't know which Michelle.
That's a good point. I didn't realize there was two until now, but you're up. Go for it.
Okay, this is the first time volunteering, so I wondered, what's the appropriate attire? We have t-shirts, but do we wear jeans, shorts, leggings, what?
Number one, I'm super glad you asked that question because you reminded me of something I didn't talk about. All the instructors, most of them, well, will at some point, if they haven't already, pick up the volunteer t-shirts. We do have a very special t-shirt just for volunteers so that you guys are distinguished amongst everybody else. And so it's a black t-shirt with gold volunteer writing on it. Okay. The instructors have access to those, all the senseis of the different dojos. So make sure that you, if you haven't, make sure you each get one of those. Okay. As far as the rest of your attire goes, that's flexible. We just ask that you wear the shirt so that we look uniformed in the shirt for the day. Okay. Then we have the gray t-shirt that is more just a souvenir t-shirt of the tournament. But those are not meant for volunteers this time. We do have a special shirt for volunteers. And our goal is to actually utilize that same volunteer shirt for the next several tournaments and make it a little bit simpler for everybody. Okay. And make the volunteers stand out a little bit more. So that way people kind of know who they can ask questions to as well. Because usually if you're volunteering, you have a little more of a working knowledge of what's going on. So good luck. Okay. But you guys will be fine. I have confidence in you. Does that help a little bit with the dress code?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. My pleasure. Cheryl Fox.
That's Chris Fox, but that's my wife signed up under my.
I was going to say, you don't look like a Cheryl, but
Yeah.
that's all I had to go by. So
Just had a curious question. I think I asked this last year. Has there ever been any news coverage, or will there be any news coverage to whether it be for promotional or simply just so the kids have something like in schools, how they, if they do something, it gets put in like a paper or something that highlights what they're doing?
That's a good question. We do have an instructor that actually does tabulate all the results of the tournament and then publishes those to the different instructors. And so that's typically one of our ways of kind of, doing that as far as the various places and things that transpire through the day. Beyond that, we don't have anything set up for that, but that is a good, that's something to consider for sure. With our new venue, that might be something that's more accomplishable too. So what other suggestions or ideas do you have on that?
Sorry, I didn't have any other. I was just curious if we ever had that in the past, or if that's something that could be talked about for.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Yeah, it definitely could be talked about. I always truthfully, and actually I have a notepad in front of me. I'm writing it down right now. I always have my notes for next tournament. I actually reviewed it before I met with you guys today to make sure I didn't miss anything that I wrote down last time. So that is something that we should look more into for sure. I think that'd be great. Thank you for the suggestion. Much appreciated. So thank you, sir. Let's go with Michael Celestini. Michael, you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep. Go right ahead.
Yeah. On the wristbands, I have a question. So I don't know if I just didn't catch this, but do you want everyone to wear the wristbands, including the students?
Yes. So when the students register at their specific dojos, they should be given at least 3 wristbands, one for the competitor, and then 2 additional ones as part of their registration. So if they didn't receive that, see your instructor and they can provide those for you. Okay. Now, if it's a family registration, there'd be more wristbands involved, one for each competitor and then 2 additional for the family members. And then additional wristbands can be purchased before the tournament or at the door the day of the tournament. Now, as volunteers, each of you should get one for free. So make sure that your instructor provides that, but everybody should have one. That way, when they're checking people in, it's really fast and easy. You just hold your arm up and they're just going to let you walk right in. It's really simple. And you can come and go as you please throughout the day if you need to as well. So even I'm going to have one. So, okay.
Okay. Cause I got 3 yellow wristbands, and
Okay.
that was obviously for my son, and then
Yeah.
2 spectators for me and my wife. Now that I'm a volunteer, does that mean I get an additional wristband?
If you need another one, you should definitely get one. Absolutely. And you should get one for free. Okay. If you don't need it, then you can just use one of the ones you have. They're all the same. But if you'd like another one, just explain, hey, I'm volunteering. Sensei Romanelli said that I should get a wristband. Blame it on me. That's fine.
Sounds good.
But yeah, we want to make sure all of our volunteers get in, and they should really get an additional one. Same thing with judges too. Any of our black belt judges will get the same courtesy. We don't want them to have to purchase one at the door. Okay. And we appreciate the help. So yeah, thank you, sir. And young lady in the purple. Oh, you're muted again, ma'am. I'm sorry. And Annie, you're on deck, I promise.
Now, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I did not get a packet from my sensei.
Okay.
So first question, you did not call my name for any of the ring assignments or anything like that.
Okay. Okay.
So then the next question would be, when do you want me there?
that
Or
is a
do you
wonderful
want-
question.
Do you want me there?
I want you there for sure. I just didn't have you on my list, and I apologize for that. But
Okay.
but can you spell your name for me?
Yeah, I don't know if he wrote my first name is Pat or Patrice. Last name is Seta.
Yeah, that doesn't look familiar, but in some, what happened on some of the forms, there wasn't anything checked off as far as time availability, and so I didn't automatically include anybody because I wasn't sure what time. You might have fit that bill. So
Well, he filled out the form for me. I just went in there. I told him I was going to volunteer, and he said, "Okay, I don't have a form right at hand, but I said,
okay.
put me down for whatever you need me, where you need me, when you need me, except for sweeping the parking lot. I'll do whatever."
Perfect. Well, I
And-
would say truthfully, that latter part of the day is where we need the most volunteers at this point. So if you'd be comfortable with
Okay.
that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Anything from like that 2 to 6 o'clock window would be great.
Okay, and I did already get my wristband and my T-shirt, so
Okay. well,
I
great.
was kind of
Did you-
surprised when you didn't call my name, but
It was not on purpose. I promise. So
No.
thank you. Thank you for volunteering. I just didn't have you on my personal list, but no, I appreciate that. I have on my list now. This is my personal
Okay.
handwritten list. So I'm going to add you on
Okay.
my chart, and I'll put you down in that latter time slot. I'm thinking right now, looking at my rings, 1, 2, 6, 5, 5, 3. I'm thinking probably ring 4 would be good. If you want to just make that note for yourself, ring 4 as a time score in that ring. Okay.
okay, and well, I probably will be there earlier because my granddaughter, like I said, it's her first tournament. She'll be competing. She's 6.
Mhm.
She's a blue belt and she's doing kata. So
Yeah, so she'll be in the earlier part, which means you'll be free to watch her, and then if you're able to, some of that'll be during her. Well, it depends time wise, but some of that could fall into her time a little bit, but more than likely you'll be able to see what she has going on. And then if you're available at the latter part of the day to help us out, that would be fantastic. And if you want to jump in earlier, if the availability is there, that's fine. But I would plan for that latter section in ring 4 would be great. Okay.
okay, awesome. You got it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
And thank you. And Annie, you're next.
Hi.
Hi.
I don't know if I missed this. Where do we check in at when we come in?
Okay,
Like
so
for volunteering?
when you come in, when you walk into the arena, there's going to be a check-in table, and you're going to have your wristband on. You're just going to walk right in, and then when you walk into the arena, it's really just, if you're up at the beginning part of the day, it's really just about going to that ring. If you're not up right away, simply just remain in the arena, remain in the stands, walk freely. You don't have to really check in per se. I have you guys on my list. What we've tried to do is streamline some of this. So we're having this meeting now. I have my list. I've confirmed with you guys. You're good to go. And then it's just really, at your appropriate time, just making sure you go to the appropriate ring and
Okay.
and swap out a little bit, and we can facilitate that too. There is going to
Okay.
be my head table there that I'll be manning at the tournament, and then my main floor coordinator, Chris Brown, will be out there, and Mr. Brown is going to be in charge of really giving the coordinators anything they need, whether it's a new judge, a new timekeeper, whatever it could possibly be. So,
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
No,
Okay.
that's great. It is pretty simple, actually, and it's easy to miss. There's two parking lots, P16 and P17, right next to the arena there, and those should be open to parking, and it's a pretty quick walk right over. Okay. And yeah, thank you, ma'am. And then Shaughnessy.
Hello, Sensei. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I may have missed hearing my name. I know I signed up to volunteer, but I'm not sure if I had marked any time frames on mine either. So I wasn't sure if that was.
Yeah, I do remember seeing you, and I think what it was maybe what you'd volunteered for. I wasn't sure if you'd be available for the time and scorekeeping or not. Is that something you'd be available for?
I can make myself available for whatever you need.
Well, of course, the boys at least are black belts. They're going to be competing towards the latter part of the day, so I assume you'd be there for that. If I could put you down for that latter part of the day for time and score,
sure,
we'll make sure you could step out if they're competing, if you don't have a front row seat already, but that would be super helpful. Okay.
Yeah, and Maya's competing too, but I'm not sure what time of day yet. So
she won't be first thing, but she'll be a little more in the middle. Then the boys would be kind of after her.
All right, cool. Yeah.
But if so everything's going to kind of be in that second half of the day for you.
Okay.
It's a couple hours in, so it kind of fits in. If you could be ready for ring 3 for me, that would be awesome.
Sure. And then what time is that at again? Sorry.
Yeah. 2 o'clock.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kind of 2 o'clock on, and at 2 o'clock, we'll probably have a good handful of people there, but as we get a little later, it'll dissipate. So, okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Ms. McGinnis?
Oh, I actually was just going to lower my hand because I'm on my way there right now. If you guys need help in the afternoon, I am available. So I assume I checked the morning because that's when the girls are, but if you need it, I'm on my way. Just come out and talk to me. I'll be there.
All right. You're on my list.
Thanks. Thanks.
No, I appreciate your help. Thank you so much. And Jen Pisha?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. You got it.
Oh, fantastic. So I just have a question. I am down for ring 1 from basically 11:30 until 5, which is perfectly fine because I have kids there pretty much all day. My question really is, will the score callers be kind of synced up as far as timing with those of us who are volunteering? I'm asking because if I'm going to be there at 11:30, my son is supposed to be attending the score caller meeting on Saturday, and I'm just wondering if he's somebody who's going to have to be there at 9 if I need to be there the whole day, basically.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. As far as when he may need to be there for score calling versus when you need to be there for your portion. The score calling part is much more flexible because we can literally substitute anybody in any spot. So if any of you have a specific family and you're trying to coordinate all that, just make sure that your children or whoever it is, make sure they know that when they jump on the meeting for the black belt score calling, and they can let Sensei Davis will run that, and they'll let him know that I can't be there till 11. We should have one of the perks of having the black belts compete at the end is we should have them, many of them throughout the day, to do all the other jobs, which is one of the goals of this setup. But yes, by all means, and also of course, Ms. Pisha, one of the things I want to just make mention is I have you slated for that time slot, but also keep in mind that the goal is to rotate people and not necessarily have everybody working their whole time. That's just really just in conjunction with what what the options were on the form there. But we'll do our best. If you need to step out or something, you're welcome to do that. We just got to find someone to swap with you. Okay.
Absolutely, no problem. And then I had one other question.
Yeah.
And that was since I'm at 11:30,
Mhm.
the youth under black belt ages 12 and under, it says check in before 11. So will I be coming in the middle of that grouping, or do you not anticipate that grouping starting until about 11:30?
So the check-in times are approximate based on the projected amount of people when we made the registration form, right? And so, you know, now I would say that those divisions are going to probably, we're asking everybody to be there by 11, but they'll probably start competing a little bit later than that. As far as the ability for you guys to swap in and out, it's really just making sure you're not leaving during the middle of a division, right? So it doesn't have to coordinate exactly with that switchover. We just kind of took the day and broke it up into 4 pieces as far as you guys go, just so that if you're going to be there in the morning, you could do the morning. If you're going to be there in the afternoon, you could do the afternoon, and so on and so forth. Doesn't, you know, none of that super locked in stone. It just gives us a good reference point. And with the check-in times, we always provide a check-in time where we know that we're not going to call them at least until that check-in time, right?
Perfect.
Now, you know, depending on their age and their level, when they get called, it could be right away and it could be a little later, but we tried to break it up into 4 pieces this time so that no one is, you know, no one competing unless they're volunteering the whole, you know, to be there the whole day has to be there the whole day. So, okay.
No, that's perfect. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. And Teresa?
Hi, Sensei. This is my first time volunteering, so
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was just curious. I signed up for the morning and the midday time slot, but my son's a brown belt and he's 11. So I'm wondering if he's not going to be going on till I would say later afternoon, based on what I'm hearing. Do you think it would be better if I volunteer like midday and then later if you need volunteers then, rather than the first 9 a.m. slot?
The sorry, I'm just checking why you were asking me. You are accurate in the fact that, you know, he would be in that 11 o'clock check-in for the youth. Okay. And so, you know, that would be kind of our second time slot as far as the volunteering portion goes, if you wanted to do that.
If it's okay, if he's still checking at 11, you think he'll be going on at that time frame, that's fine. I was assuming maybe he would be later in the
I
afternoon,
mean,
like
he
after.
can be.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be. Well, I mean, the next question is, what events is he doing? Right? Is he doing just kata? Is he doing sparring? What is he doing?
Weapon, sparring, and kata. So all 3.
Yeah. So he'll have some stuff, right? That he'll have things that kind of filter throughout that day a little bit, because he is doing all 3, because they're going to do all the weapons first, then all the kata, and then all the sparring for that youth bracket or that youth group. Okay. So he'll have some things towards the beginning of that, but then also some things in the middle, and if he's sparring, some things closer to the end as well. Yeah.
We'll just leave as it is.
Of the youth portion. So I appreciate that. That's helpful. He won't be right at the beginning. We have our adults and our little dragons going, but to be truthful, that's a smaller part of the day. The youth part that you're talking about is the nucleus of the day, really, to be honest. So
Okay, great. All right, good to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your help. Much appreciated. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I know I see some hands, but not sure if they're repeats. Michelle, any questions from you?
Yeah, are we still doing the normal, like the opening ceremony that typically was done at the other high school? And if so, what time do we think that's approximately starting?
So to answer that simply, not really. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to be actually this evening, I'm going to be pre-recording pretty much that opening of the tournament where I explain how everything's going to work. And we're going to be sending that out to all the instructors it'll be on YouTube, where they can actually go on and watch it. So all the students can go watch, parents can go watch. It'll be a little bit deeper description of the day and how things are going to progress and go. And we're going to do all that so that people can watch that as many times as they want and whenever they want. That way, nobody has to be there right at the beginning, unless they're slated to be already, right? And so, one of the things we noticed in our last tournament was just the simple congestion at the beginning of the day. And so we try to do is really spread everybody out as much as we could to make this a little more user-friendly. And that's one of our ways of doing that. So when we start at 9 o'clock, the opening ceremony is really going to be me saying, okay, everybody take your positions and begin. Okay, more or less. It will save us it actually will save everybody. We're actually able to start a little bit earlier because of that. And hopefully we'll accommodate people's schedules a little bit better too. So There are a few people that will be there the whole day, but we're trying to make it as convenient for the masses as possible, especially those that are first timers, young kids, etc. Okay. Any last questions? I've got a whole 30
Yeah,
seconds.
Sensei Dion here real quickly.
Yes, sir.
First time to one of these events, is there a concession stand or anything of that nature there, or do we need to bring food in?
That's a good question. That is a worthwhile last question. The great thing about the Oakland University venue is there's actually concession stands right inside the arena. And so they are going to be providing all that for us and doing all that. And it's actually right inside. When you walk in the arena, you are walking in at the top of the arena and you look down into it. And in that concourse around the top are the concession areas. And so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And so there's options for all that right there. And they're Oakland's in charge of running all that actually for us, which is great. So.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Give me a hot dog when you go up there, please. All right. And I see a hand from Glenn.
Yeah, just a question for the other volunteer opportunities that you didn't talk about. Have they already been notified, or is that coming soon? Like we have my wife and I were volunteering for the night before, right? Setup.
Got it.
Is that coming, or is that already been filled?
What I'm going to say is we had a humongous amount of volunteers for those things, and honestly, we just didn't anticipate that.
Okay.
And so unless you've been notified for that specifically, we reached out to those people personally. We just really didn't want to have everybody show up and have nothing to do, right? I mean, there's always so much to do. And so we appreciate that. But if we haven't reached out to you personally, the only thing I would recommend you do is just checking with your instructor just to double check and say, hey, Sensei Romanelli did not ask us to do anything, but did you expect me to be there? And just check with them just to be on the safe side. But really, we were in pretty good shape with that. And that's really before. If you're there after and you're able to help us pull some tape and things, that's great. But we weren't going to stress anybody out about that stuff. So okay,
great. Yep.
Well, thank you for asking. Super appreciated. Any Mr. Fox?
One question. I know last year, for anyone that forgot their mouth guards, you could purchase them at the concessions. How's that going to work this year?
So great question. They will not be at the concessions because we don't operate the concessions, but they will be up front by the check-in table. Okay. We ordered 100 of each just to be on the safe side. Okay. So we still have those if people need mouth guards, and it's good as volunteers to know that too, because you can tell people that as well. At the check-in table, remember there's going to be the wristband line where you can walk through, and then there's going to be the other line where you can purchase things. One of those things you can purchase is a mouth guard. Okay. So there's going to be mouth guards there. Any overstock and t-shirts we have will be available there as well as of course the wristbands. Okay. Does that help? Awesome. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And any other questions? Great. Well, hey, again, guys, thank you so much for volunteering, helping out with this. I am super excited about our new venue. I think it's going to be great. Don't tell anybody, but there's air conditioning. I noticed. I enjoyed your smiles. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. This has been recorded, and I will text out the text you received. If you receive my well, if you're here, you received my text. I'm guessing. I have you in my system. I'll text out a link to this in the next 24 hours in case you have any questions. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Black Belts are calling me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.